Hello, everyone. This is Alex Tremble, and this is the Executive Bill Podcast. I love my radio voice. Look, as you know, this show, along with all of our speaking, consulting, coaching, all of our services, are laser focused on helping organizations prepare high performing leaders from all backgrounds to successfully transition to and excel in the VP and senior VP level positions within organizations. And if your organization is serious about developing diverse and highly effective executive leadership teams, then one, you're at the right place. And two, I encourage you to reach out to us at gpsleadership.org or reach out to us at team@gpsleadership.org. So we love to connect with you to discuss how we can work together to help your organization reach its DEI and leadership development goals. Next, the Executive Pill is now one of the top 5 most popular shows in the world. Booyah! That's my like rocket power. If you remember that show, Booyah! And this didn't happen by accident. It's you. You made this happen. It will be you who determines the continued success of this show. So please, if you find the content, the advice, the motivation, the inspiration that flows through our guests in this show, then please do us a favor and click that like button. Click the subscribe button, share your thoughts and ideas and questions in the comment section. And as always, please, please, please share this episode at least with 1 or 2 of your colleagues or friends today. I promise you, if you find something valuable, they're going to find it valuable too. And I am so excited. I am so excited. We are so excited to announce the publishing of our most recent book, Relationships That Work. 4 simple steps to building intentional connections in business and in life. It's now available on Amazon. I'm telling you, you need to check this out. Look, if you are an ambitious leader who inspires to rise to the most senior level executive positions within your industry, then this book will provide you with the step-by-step process to make your dreams a reality. And seriously, if you're tired and frustrated with doing everything you possibly can to gain the influence to get that next opportunity, but you're just not receiving the results you're looking for, then you really need to read this book. Now, again, we'll have the link in the bio today and in the description. Relationships That Works, 4 simple steps to building intentional connections in business and in life. You need to get this book today. I'm looking forward to hearing from so many of you, all of you who read the book, because it's just jam-packed with freaking awesome goodness. Now, with no further ado, let me say today is a good day. See, today we have the always wonderful Miss Jessica Rivera. See, Jessica is the founder of Impact Leadership and JR Consulting. And prior to founding this awesome organization, she has led and worked in leadership positions within multiple private sector and corporate, just corporate environments. I was really quickly, I know I'm getting off a little topic, but I was looking up some of her information, and I found that she led the sales and marketing team for a number of organizations, and she was responsible for $4 billion in revenue at a top ranked international bank. Now, when you think B's, you thinking like, those big billions. So she's one of them. Okay. So she has served in senior level positions within organizations such as Santander, Consumer USA, and Chrysler Capital. So again, this woman is a powerhouse, and I'm so glad, I'm so happy, I'm so honored to have her with us today. How are you doing, madam?
What an introduction. Thank you so much, Alex. I am so excited to be here.
Dude, I mean, look, I'm telling you, you and I, we are kindred spirits in our excitement to chat with each other, because again, I get to watch and see what you're doing online. I'm so glad that we were connected by our mutual friend. And I wanted to start off with I'd say just jump in like double dutch, right? Let's just jump into it.
Let's do it.
You talk a lot about mindset, right? This is a very facetious question, but why does mindset matter? I don't get it. It's just a mind, right?
It's just a mind. That's all. I think mindset, well, of course, mindset matters in everything that we do, but I love to apply it on how it relates to leadership. And so I love how much you talk about career and culture. And that is so important to me, because the way we think is what we bring to our businesses, and that's what we bring to our teams. And it really matters on how it really will determine on how we treat our team. And I always say this, if I had an arch nemesis, it would be patriarchal leadership, like that
Mm,
old school leadership. I was over it, and I was really determined to find ways to lead teams
mhm.
that was more heartfelt, but
Yeah.
at the same time still held people accountable, because I think that it gets a bad rap, right? That we think, oh, we treat people well, and then they're going to step all over us, and then we allow them to do whatever they want. And I found it to be the opposite. It was much easier for me to hold people accountable when I did it with my heart. It was
Mhm,
much easier for me to really have that open and honest dialogue, because I was less frustrated, because I was actually speaking my mind, because there was no corporate speak in there. Like, let's just
mhm,
have a regular conversation. And so, what I found was that it's not as difficult as we were taught it was.
mhm, mhm, mhm. So look, I gotta be that guy and be like, look, I don't know about this, man. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Mhm.
So I was being interviewed for a podcast recently, and actually just a couple days ago, and we talked about this, right? And we talked about the importance of being authentic. We talked about the importance of communication and communicating effectively with your team and so on and so forth. And then we talked about the many instances where leaders are doing everything they can to communicate effectively,
Mhm.
but in today's culture, today's environment, people just get offended really easily.
Yeah.
And your career could be on the line. You can get in trouble. You can say things that you absolutely, you absolutely think it's a great thing. Like I give an example. I was talking to a leader a couple of years ago, a year ago, and I was like, hey, look, let's put the PowerPoint together and, make sure you have some bullets on there. And they're like, oh, you
Uh,
can't say that, you can't say bullets. I'm like, what do you mean? And they were really upset with me. And I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm missing here. And they were really upset. And they, oh, well, when I was a kid, this happened. So when I hear the word bullet, it triggers me. And so, like, how do we as leaders navigate these situations where everyone, I'll be honest, like, there's a lot of people who are ready to be offended.
yeah, I completely agree. I think it starts with the intention. It starts with us stating our intent. It starts with us helping people understand where we are coming from. And so, listen, everybody makes mistakes. We all offend somebody. Everybody, right? So I think if that were to happen, and we can just honestly apologize, say, okay, well, it wasn't my intent. And it really starts with, like, have you ever read Stephen Covey?
Hmm.
Yeah, Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, or
Hmm.
Highly Effective People. He speaks about the emotional bank account there. And think about any relationship. You just said you wrote a book on relationships, right? Think about any relationship you have in your life. And it's no different than the ones you have at work. We all have an emotional bank account, and it's our job to make those deposits, because, as we know, we can make the withdrawal becomes a lot larger when
Yeah.
there is a withdrawal. But when you've made enough deposits, those withdrawals are not as big. And so it really starts with establishing true and honest relationships from the door, always, and knowing that it's a journey,
Yeah.
right? We don't just do you don't just get 100 on a test and then pass the class, right? So it really takes a lot of effort and energy in any relationship, including the ones at work, including with the people that work for us, including even with our children.
Hmm. Look, I'll tell you, like, my little boy was just born, and I feel like I am doing my best to communicate with him, but he's just not listening to me. So I'm being authentic, and he's I'm
Listen, the truth
joking.
is, you guys are communicating. I'm sure he can feel your energy, and I know you can feel his. So you actually are communicating, to be honest. That's what I
I
believe.
know. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. What's it called? No, I really appreciate that. And obviously, I'm with you. These are things that are really important. I like to have these conversations. I honestly, you got me thinking, and I'm going to go in a completely different direction. So I want you to feel free to say, "Hey, Alex, let's back up off that ledge if you don't want to go that direction."
Okay.
Um, so what just happened recently in the world is about affirmative action. Are you feel comfortable having a conversation about this really quickly?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few topics I won't touch. I'm trying to think of one. I can't think of one, so let's go for it.
So, in the world that I work in, there's a lot of people like kind of anxious, right? Because the research has shown, especially if you look at the Washington Journal study they did in California, showing the impacts to Latino and African American community when affirmative action was taken away out there. There's going to be some negative circumstances from this, and so when I love to talk about how do people find the opportunity to navigate to the top and gain more access, gain more influence, gain more security, more resources. And the reality is there are many organizations that that only select from the Harvards or the Yales or where it may be. And so now I'm posing this question to think about, like, you have this program that's meant to help people, and now that program can be being taken away. What are your thoughts? Like, do we as a should people be fighting to try to get these programs back?
Mhm.
Or do we say as leaders, or we say as individuals, hey, you know what? The world isn't fair. This is not right what just happened. But you know what? I'm not going to let my success be driven by some government program, some court, whatever it may be. I'm going to figure out a way to still be successful in spite of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm a full believer that we can control what we can control. And so
Mhm.
if you want to go out there and lobby and do all of those things, sure. But I'm not for waiting for somebody else to open a door for me, because the truth is I did that for a long time. I did that. I thought that it was my boss's responsibility, keep my head down, work hard. And it's someone else's responsibility to highlight me. It's someone
Yes.
else's responsibility to say, oh, wait, I noticed you're working really hard. Here's, you should go for this promotion. I should mentor you. I should do this and do that. And that's, I'm a person of color. I'm a woman of color. Um, I'm Latina. I grew up in New York City. I had a kid really young. I felt like an imposter in every room. All of these, I never finished college. So I felt like I needed just like, let me just work hard, right? Like that's what I was taught. And so as I started climbing the corporate ladder and really figuring things out, what I realized was that when I showed up as my authentic self, when I was less afraid to be who I wanted to be, when I didn't code switch as much, I actually, people wanted to work with me even more. And it was mind blowing and mind boggling to think, oh, wait a second. I don't have to turn on every single time. It's actually easier when I'm just being myself. People want to work with me more when I'm just being myself. It took years for me to figure that out because I was actually in sales and I was always competing, and I thought that's just, let me just work hard. But the reality is I was not getting where I wanted when I was only working hard. It is about relationships. It is about showing up as who you are. And many times I would say, I'm putting in all this work. I'm
Mhm.
volunteering for everything. I'm like on all these councils. I'm doing the most. And I'm bringing in the numbers and I'm
Yep.
doing all of those things. But somebody else would get the promotion and it wasn't
Mhm.
making sense to me. And so what I realized, and I wish I had realized it much sooner, was that I don't have to code switch. I don't have to be ashamed of who I was. I don't have to show up as somebody else because you know what? That comes off as phony. It comes
Mm.
off as calculated. It comes off as we can feel when we're not being our authentic self. Right. So they can feel it also. And we
Mhm.
feel it from other people. We don't realize, oh, wait, we do that as well. And they can tell as well. So what I teach in my coaching program is how to do that. And listen, you know, I grew up in New York and it's like, let me tell you what it is, how it is, when you do this, right? Yeah, that's not it either, right? And so there's a way to get your point across. And I was in sales basically of my career and I got accused of being like too aggressive. But it was like, that's what gets me the sale.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's a middle ground there, right? You can make your be stern, put your point across, do all of those things in a nice, concise way, and people still respect you. You don't have to show up like people talk about, like alpha female
Oh God.
and all of that, right?
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, you can live in your feminine and in your masculine and have it
Mhm.
both work for you.
Yeah.
And that is something I balanced for a very long time. And so now I teach that in my coaching program through working on mindset, through working on your communication, figuring out what your strategy is so that you can get to that peak leadership within yourself so you can better lead others. It's a process. This does not happen overnight. You don't just take one course and you're like, oh, wait, now I know how to communicate. No, that's just not how it works. Plus, every person is different and all of those things. So it was a journey, but I believe, being your authentic self is the secret sauce. That is the dopeness. Like, let's lean into it.
You've said so much, and I want to make a few really quick points on a number of things you said. One, I love that you said you're about not waiting, right? Like I'm not going to wait for someone to know that I'm great, that I'm awesome, that I'm good, I'm ready for that next opportunity. I am someone who's really, really big into symbolism. So communication is what I do. If you're building a relationship with someone, it's about communication. Like that's what you're doing. And so like symbolism is really big for me. So those of you who, when you buy the book or check out the book online, you'll see chess pieces. There's a very specific reason for that. I'm going to ask you, Jessica, and I'm going to ask the audience as well. So please put your answers in the description, the chat. I'd love to see how many people were answering where. Okay, you have two players playing chess, two people playing chess. Someone has the white pieces, someone has the black pieces. They're both equally smart, equally brilliant, equally everything. Who generally will win the match? Who will generally win? They're both equally yoked and all that good stuff.
Okay. Usually the one that can bluff, right?
That's poker.
Okay. I don't know. The one who has the better poker face. Don't you have to have a poker face in chess also? No?
Probably you probably don't want to look like you're too scared or you got something.
Too
You're absolutely
scared,
right.
too like ready, or like, I would think. But I'm assuming you're going the communication route.
The actual answer is whoever has the white pawns.
The white
Why?
ones?
The white
Why?
pawns. Whoever has, and it's once I say it, you'll be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. In the game of chess, the white pawns always go first.
Oh.
Whoever has the white pawn moves first. And from a statistical standpoint, if both people are equally yoked, equally, the white, whoever has the white pawns, they win statistically more often than the other. And what does that mean? That means literally because they took action.
That's
They
it.
moved first instead of waiting for someone else to go. They went. And so when we talk about how important it is for us to take action and move forward and try something, this is what again I this is why I wrote this book. Relationships at Work is to be teach people how to take that action. And to your point about like being your authentic self, I can't tell you how much I agree with you because we are all unique. There are, and I'll be honestly, there's a freaking 100,000,000 people doing what I do. There's 100,000,000 people doing what you do. What makes us different? It's us.
That's
Our
it.
uniqueness, what we bring to the table, our stories. And it's the same thing that makes you, the audience, different. It's your stories, your experiences, how you approach challenges and how you talk to people. So you shouldn't be trying to be vanilla because then you don't stand out.
But that's what we were taught.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we were taught,
Absolutely.
right? That's what we were taught in school, and that's what we're taught even in the workplace, right? We're taught to fit in with the crowd. We're
Hmm.
taught, and leadership tells you, you do not get to speak out of turn. You do not get to come in here with a different opinion. They say they want a different opinion, and then when you give it, it's a problem. I've seen it happen all of the time. But I think when you can actually communicate that in a way that it's like, I remember telling one of my bosses one time, um we were in a meeting, and he's the type to say, oh, if you guys don't agree, let me know. And he would never like when somebody didn't agree with him. So I said, okay. I repeated what he said. You want people to give you a different opinion, right? You want us to tell you, right? Because if you do, then I'm going to go ahead and mention it. I just want to make sure that this is okay. Like really reiterating exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying. So I don't want the backlash.
Mm-hmm.
But people we in corporate, people get so afraid because their careers are on the line.
Oh, absolutely.
And it stunts that innovativeness. You know, we were going through all of these trainings on how to be more inclusive and how to not only respect but actually honor and want different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And the leadership in the back of the room, as senior leadership would be on their computers, but yet they wanted the frontline team and they wanted us to hold our teams accountable, but you're not even engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot expect from others what we do not do. And so I love that, with the whole George Floyd and everything that was happening with Black Lives Matters and companies really feeling that they have to be more culturally conscious,
Mm-hmm.
really has forced them to take another look and truly decide, okay, who's engaged and who isn't engaged and what stance do they want to take. I love that this is where we are. And I just hope that it's not only for show. And I've worked with companies that it isn't,
Mm-hmm.
but what changing the culture takes a lot of time.
Oh my God.
It takes a lot of energy and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of effort on everyone's part. And so I love that we're in this space, but I also know that we have a lot more to come.
Well, look, two things on that really quick in the culture piece. Please, everyone, if you didn't hear that, rewind it and listen to it again. Changing culture is hard. It's really, really hard. I was a chief culture officer for an organization for 2 years before deciding to go and do my business full time. And I can tell you, it for any organization that is asking one person to change the culture of the organization, you're setting them up for failure, right? If any organization say hiring a chief diversity officer, okay, you diversify this organization, then you're setting them up for failure, right? This is a everyone thing. Culture change is an everyone thing. It can't be put on any one person, and it's easy for them to be scapegoated for everyone to do what they're doing, and whatever they're doing has created the culture they already have. So they can just keep doing what they're doing and say, why didn't the culture change? Why didn't you do it? So I wanted to underscore what you said there. And then also you said something about the oh my God. If I gotta stop talking so much. Anyways,
Well, I want to say this. You said it's an everyone thing. It's an everyday thing also.
oh yes.
It's an everyday thing also. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an everyone and an everyday, and you have to model the behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was working with some clients. This came up twice already this week, and one of them was talking about diversity and all this. I said, well, I want to ask you a question. Think about your closest 10 people. Are they diverse?
Mm-hmm.
Your closest 20 people. Are they diverse? Or do they all look like you? Out of that pool, out of that 20% pool, about 90% of them are your exact
Mm-hmm.
nationality, and 100% of them are your exact ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
So when you speak about inclusion and diversity, I want you to ask yourself, do you truly live that? And if you don't, how are you saying that?
I, look, I want you to be able to push back. So feel free to push back. I would 100% agree with you on that. And I would start off with saying, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person, right?
No, of course
But
not.
it does mean that it underscores the importance, and there's a really important word right here, intentionality.
That's
It
it.
doesn't just happen. Everyone's like, oh, once everyone's marrying
No,
each other, diversity will just be happening. No, it doesn't just happen. It has to be intentional.
I said that. That's exactly what I said to her. I said, here's the thing. None of this is bad. You can still have a diverse a community or company like you're trying to build, but you have got to be intentional with your board. You have to be
Mhm,
intentional with
mhm,
where you're spending your time. You have to make these relationships on purpose.
mhm.
On purpose. What type of events do you go to? What
Yep.
type of areas are you in? None of this is bad, but I wanted because we feel like, oh, we love everybody and we, this is what we want to do. But what are you already doing? What you're saying and your actions don't match. So let's just make them match. That's it.
Look, I came from a policy background. So I'll tell you, it's so funny because I think a lot of people expect me to be the touchy-feely guy because of the world I work in.
Hmm.
Um, and that's not me. I'm all about progress. Like, did you do something or did you not do it? Right. And like you said, there's a lot of organizations that I've worked with in the beginning, like, oh yeah, we care so much about this. The
Hmm.
great pictures and the logos and the sayings. And I'm like, okay, let's look at your numbers. And they're like, what do you mean numbers?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's look at your demographics. Okay, not only your employees, like what are your
Your
vendors
leadership
like?
team.
What are your
Exactly.
leadership team like? Again, that's
Exactly.
why I focus on what I do because like, I want to diversify leadership teams. Like it's not just about saying you care, right? That's nice. It's nice, makes you feel good inside, but does it move the needle? I would say absolutely no. And so again, to your point, when you're going in there trying to increase diversity, create an inclusive work environment, I think it's extremely important to spend the time to develop the right policies and the policies in place to say, hey, look, what are our policies? Honestly, I start off with core values. Understanding your core values. Once you understand your core values, you've defined your core values, you've created behavioral examples for your core values, then you tie to your reward systems and your policies and your hiring and your selection and your promote, like everything being tied to those. And then you can say, you have a Bible that's now supports your work. It supports everything you do. And if someone's not doing it, then you can say, you know what? You're not in line with what our organization is about. Here's all the policies to go behind it. And maybe you don't need to be here. Um,
It makes it very easy when you do it that way. It makes it very easy when everybody is singing from the same
mm-hmm,
song sheet, right? It
mm-hmm,
makes it very easy when your values are clearly communicated, when you're living by your values. Because unfortunately, what organizations tend to do, it's like they pick and choose when they want to put these
yep.
values and policies into place. And so then that they don't realize that that disrupts everybody.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So I see what you're doing. It may not affect me right now, but I know it could because
Mm-hmm,
I've seen you do it to them and I'm
mm-hmm,
not special, right?
mm-hmm.
Even if I'm in the in crowd, maybe I'm on the benefit side to that. It still, for me, was a problem because that does not show that you are living your values. And at one point it could affect me. That's the way I thought about it, right? When I even in friendships, right? Well, let's go back to relationships
Mm-hmm.
or anywhere. You come to me and you're speaking poorly about someone in your inner circle. The first thing I think is, as a matter of fact,
Dude,
let me
dude.
tell you, let me tell you, one of my senior leaders comes on a call with me and the person who was helping me run the team at the time, like my assistant, and we're laughing. It's a bright sunny day on a Tuesday, and he gets on the call and he starts speaking negatively about one of my counterparts and their assistant. And I
Mhm.
said to him, with my sister on the phone, with all of us, I said, I wonder what he says about us behind our back. Oh, no, 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 no. I don't say anything about you guys. Of course not, because we're special, right? So I want leaders to understand when you are speaking poorly about your team, about your counterparts to people at work, the first thing you are destroying your own reputation.
Oh my God.
You are destroying your own reputation when you are speaking poorly about your counterparts and your team at work. It's one thing to give criticism, it's one
Mhm,
thing to give feedback, it's one
mhm,
thing to give solutions to the feedback. Great. But speaking poorly and negatively and gossiping, no.
mhm. Oh my
Then they
God.
wonder why their culture is all destroyed. You're part of the problem. 9 out of
Absolutely.
10 times, the leader is part of the problem.
I just want to like, I love that example you provided. And I want to take it even a step further. I had people, so one of the things I do to build relationships with people is I serve as a confidant. People tend to like to talk to me. So I can be a confidant, they can be a sounding board. I talk to them, share advice and whatnot. So I actually mentor a number of executive leaders. And it was brought to me one day, like, how, Alex, like, how do you do this? Because everyone knows you're a confidant for this leader, but they also know you're a confidant for this other leader who they don't like each other. So how do they even trust you? I'm like, I don't say anything to either one of them. Like, I don't share these, even if they ask me for it, Because if they ask me for it and I tell them, what happens? Then they know I'll tell their business, right? It's like you can't, even if someone asks you for the information and you think, oh, I'm doing them a solid, you're already putting yourself in a situation where they say, well, I guess if someone asked him for information about me, he'd do it.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's food for thought for the audience for sure. The next time they want to sit back and gossip about somebody, know that you could be potentially destroying your own reputation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The way we
mm-hmm.
do one thing is the way we do most things.
Oh, goodness gracious. And I remember what you were talking about earlier in regards to what people are being taught to do in regards to being vanilla, in regards to being like just not standing out. And the interesting thing about this is that, yes, I absolutely agree. I think our society, our education system, I think everything kind of drives us towards being average. Um, just
Yes.
do what everyone else is doing so you can fit in, and you won't have any problems. But I push back against myself in saying that, who are the ones who are successful? Even though leaders will tell you, hey, why don't you just calm down? Why don't you just do what everyone else is doing? Don't rock the boat. But who's the ones that getting promoted? So
Yeah.
even though they're saying it,
Yeah.
they still know that you have to be doing something different to make it to where they are. They've done it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And when you think about people who are successful, they're the disruptors. Right?
Exactly.
They are the disruptors. Now, I will say sometimes in corporate, the person who follows the rules, like
Yeah.
just gets
Yeah.
the in and all of that. That's possible. But the true successful people, when you think like the Steve Jobs
Hmm.
of the world,
Hmm. Hmm.
the real they are disruptors. They did not follow the rules. They did go against the grain.
Yeah.
And when you are truly speaking your truth, here's the thing though, Alex, this is the problem with when we want to kind of speak our truth and we want to say our side and go against the grain, is that we want other people to buy in. That's the
Mm.
problem. And
Mm.
when people don't, then that's when we get defensive and we start to
Yeah.
justify and we start to do all of those things.
Yeah.
And so there's a difference between me explaining to you, hey, I'm on the other side of the coin on this one, and this is why, and this is the business case, and this is why I think whatever it is that I think,
Hmm.
detached from the outcome, and
Hmm.
not needing you to justify for me, like not
Yeah.
needing you to be
Yeah.
on my side, not needing your approval. I don't need your approval to think how I think. And it is
Hmm.
okay if you
Hmm.
disagree. And that's where the true power comes. And that's when I feel like you can really soar in corporate, because you can say, yeah, I'm on the other coin on this one, but I'm down for whatever you guys think is appropriate. And if everybody else agrees and I'm on the other side of it, it's okay. I'm going to go with, the corporate mission. But knowing that, hey, I didn't agree on this one. And what's beautiful about that is that if you do come out on the right side of that, they'll remember, oh, that's right. She wanted us to go that other route. And then that's where you really start like, oh, wait, you're innovative. You're more thoughtful. You're on the leading
Hmm.
edge of something. And so I think that's where we get caught up, is wanting everybody to agree with us and
Yes.
wanting other people to like give us the approval to think differently.
Everyone, please not only listen to this again, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this right now, you're perfect. So this is not for you. But if you could share this with at least 10 other people, because I think this is a big, big challenge nowadays that we see, is that people want to be agreed with, right? It's okay to have a different opinion. Um, and it's your opinion. It doesn't mean everyone has to agree with it. I can't underscore enough that I'll tell you this. A client I was coaching last year, they were having difficulty because they're really, really focused on bringing new leaders into the organization. So they have a bunch of younger leaders who are in, and they were struggling because the younger leader was proposing some ideas, and they were great ideas like to think about, but they weren't practical, right?
Mm.
They weren't in alignment with the regulations, with the laws, with the financial, with the political situation. This is something that wouldn't happen, right? It's a great idea, thought process. And they try to let them know, hey, look, like this is, thank you, and we're going to head this other direction. And that person was really upset. And they're like, you don't value my thoughts. You don't value my ideas. Maybe I don't need to be here. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just like, you're right now, you're not understanding that this idea does not fit into the reality that we're working in. And so I'm just telling everyone, please share this message. Have opinion, yes, and fight vigorously to share your ideas and thoughts and push forward. At the end of the day, remember, you can't make anyone agree with you, unless you're in that leadership position and you have the ability to say, I heard everyone, I heard you, and now we're moving this direction. Then you got to just go along with the direction.
Yeah, it's so important to really understand where you are as a leader. And the thing is, when you are disruptive, when you need that approval and you need people to come on your side, guess what? You're breeding that within your team now, right? And so then you wonder, hey, why can't they just do their job? Or why can't they just do as I asked them to? Or why can't they just, lead the corporate mission? You don't either. So I don't think that we realize it's like, have you ever dealt with this when I was dealing with a client and they were upset that the other department doesn't communicate. The other department doesn't do this and they don't tell us when people move around and they don't do this and they don't do that. And we're working through some things and I'm like, well, did you communicate that? Oh, wait, they don't do it either. So it's like, before we start complaining about everybody else, let's check within our house first. Let's check within our house first, because typically we see that in others because we have a remnants of that, or we are doing the exact same thing, if not worse. Yeah. And so this is why I love speaking all things culture. I love talking about leaders because we really make an impact on the people that we lead. And when you can make a positive impact, hold people accountable, help them think things through, like that person with the project that wasn't practical. Okay, how would we implement that? You know what, if we ask questions, if we dig in a little bit more, maybe there was a way to implement it and I couldn't see it, right? So really having that curiosity mindset as a leader for your own thoughts and your own processes, your own procedures and others really helps you go a long way.
Look, I know you told me you got to jump off because you got to talk to Steve Jobs in a minute. Well, is Steve Jobs? Is he there?
Well, Steve Jobs is past.
Okay, so not Steve Jobs. Sorry, Cook.
Obama.
Cook.
No, there you go, okay. Cook.
Obama was over at the house of the Dallas saying, "Oh, Beezy, look, so that's what I call him. We have a thing, He calls me ATZ.
I'm not there yet.
I know we gotta wrap up, but I want to open the floor back to you. Like, is there any final thoughts, ideas, anything you'd like to share with our audience as we wrap up?
Well, number one, thank you so much for having me. This was such a great conversation. I feel like we need a part two, but I love talking all things culture. I love talking all things leadership and really having us, especially people of color, really take their career in their own hands and stop being afraid of where you came from. Stop being afraid to use a slang word here or there. Stop being afraid to show the type of music you like, and just really being your authentic self. Like, we're where it's at right now. Like, let's be real. We are where it's at. So being our authentic self will really, that's the secret sauce, right? So I would just want to leave the audience with that. But also I would love for them to connect with me. I usually hang out on Instagram, like in my stories. You'll know my whole life if you hang out with me on Instagram. Also on LinkedIn. I as well work with a lot of corporations, but in addition to that, I do have a coaching program and I have a women's retreat that I'm doing in October. We're going to Dominican Republic in October 4th through the 8th, and there are still some spots available. So if you are interested, I'd love for you to, just shoot me a DM.
The one time it's appropriate to slide in someone's DM. So
you know what? I love for people to slide in my DMs. I talk to everybody. Literally. I love people. I love getting to know new people. So go ahead and slide up in mine.
I love it. I love it. Look, everyone, this has been a phenomenal opportunity to talk to a fantastic leader, individual, person, motivator, inspirer. I'm just going to keep coming up with words until I can't think of any more.
Love it.
Bombastic. Never mind. I'll just stop. Thank you so much for being here. Look, y'all know where I'm about to go, but before we go there, we're going to take one side step. Again, we talked about just the importance of, look, hard work will not get you where you want to be. It's required, absolutely. It's important, absolutely, but it doesn't differentiate you. It's the relationships you and the influence you're able to have. So I encourage you, if you haven't read it already, purchase your book, Relationships at Work. I promise you this will take your relationship building and networking ability to the next level. And as always, I encourage everyone, don't just look back, reach back. If you found anything of value today, don't keep it to yourself and say that next person should have been here. Oh, darn, they didn't make it. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. Bring them to the table, or more importantly, bring this to them. You can very easily copy and paste this link and email it, to text it. You can do everything you want to do with it, but please make sure you click that like, subscribe, heart it, all that good stuff, because again, your support is what makes this program continue moving strong. Now, as always, I encourage you to stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.